Oh, dear God. Now, these are one of those that are always rough, because it's always like, I was 6 years old. You would come on. My paw and I.
I'm just so curious.
Yeah.
You know, knowing what you know now, you know, if you went back to, you know, the early 90s, is there anything you would have advised us or done differently? Like different guests, like somebody maybe you didn't have or not?
On the MTV program? You watched that show? Because it was like, I think the first guest on the MTV show, the premiere episode. Now this is, so I should explain something because younger people in the audience. MTV was a cultural force in like the 70s, no, in the 80s, I guess it started, right? With Video Killed the Radio Star, the Buggles. And then from there, it was really cool. And then, I don't know what the happened to it, but my first guest was Howard Stern, was the first guest. And he came on and he said, you suck, the set looks ridiculous, you'll be canceled in 6 weeks. And I just sat there like, don't say that. But, you know, it was such a different kind of show. I think the two guests on that first show it was Howard Stern, a boy that ate cheese into the shape of states. Who was referred to in all the production documents as Cheese Boy. The crazy part is Cheese Boy is probably like 50 now. Cheese Boy is an ophthalmologist. But we had so much fun, but it was such a different ethos. And then we went to, I was hired to replace Arsenio, which makes total sense. And so you can imagine how that went. And then that got canceled. And I remember the last 2 weeks of that show were just chaos. Like, it's good that they took us off the air because someone was going to die. Like, Marilyn Manson was on the show. He lit a fire during his performance. An actor smashed a mug and cut his hand wide open. And the final one was there was an act called The Birdman of Vegas. And the Birdman of Vegas had a Condor act. I don't know if you've ever been around Condors. They're gigantic. They were probably like, there's my size. Not that I'm gigantic, but in the bird world, I'd be badass. Like if I woke up on a pigeon, the pigeon would be like, I don't want any problems. But the bird, there's like 6 feet tall. So he's doing the bit, and the bit is his assistant is there, and the condor will fly from his arm to the other, and it's a giant bird with a wingspan of 12 feet, and it flies over. But the bird apparently wasn't going to do that day. Instead, what it did is it flew into the audience. And so a giant condor just started pecking the shit, like, and then the audience starts chanting, sue them, sue them. And then, like, and I'm just like, and we were like canceled. We were already canceled. I was just like, I will let the birds kill everyone. I don't give a f. But that was the experience there. So if you say like, would you have done anything differently? I'd be like, I guess I would have made sure the condors were leashed.